And then I start trying to heal myself and figure out what I'm going to do for a career because I not only lost my engagement, my fiance, I lost my two stepkids that I loved so much, my career, my life basically. I spent every waking moment with this person until they started being shady.
Now, I have never actually met you. This is the first time I'm meeting you, so it's like a perfect interview process because like I actually have questions that I don't know the answers to. So I'm going to be like listening very hard to like figure out all of the awesome things that Dana has done for you in your life, and I can't wait. So, first of all, tell me about yourself. Tell me who you are, all the things.
I am 32, about to be 33. I am somebody that is very adventurous, empathetic. I'm an Aquarius. As far as occupations, I have a couple different ones. I'm a stylist part-time, and then I'm also a pilot, a private pilot. And so those two worlds are very opposite. And so I find that I'm a little bit of a chameleon in the sense that I really enjoy getting down and dirty, like in more of a stereotypical male-dominated field. I've been in several. And then I also kind of like dressing up and being in the more stereotypically female-dominated field, which is the hairstyling. So I think those two worlds are both very much a part of me. So that's pretty much the gist of me as a person. Um, I also love to laugh, spontaneous, but I find that I'm a little bit too trusting. And sometimes before I met Dana, I would trust other people's opinions over my own. So I think that's something that I most recently let go of. And it's been pretty transformative, honestly.
That's awesome. What is it that brought you originally to Dana to start the program with her?
My stepmom, actually, Julia, she had recommended Dana. I had gone through a really traumatic breakup and I was in a bad place, trying to balance, the worlds that I had just kind of talked about. And she had grown concerned about my mental well-being. And so she was like, I think you really need to talk to somebody. I'm like, I absolutely do, but in piloting, it's tough with behavioral treatments in terms of therapy and things like depression and I don't know. I was very situationally depressed. I wasn't clinically depressed. And when you see a therapist, the FAA doesn't see a difference. And so therefore you're not allowed to fly. Um,
Oh.
because who wants a mentally unstable pilot flying them around? Probably not anybody.
Oh, wow. That is such a hurdle.
Mhm.
That's amazing. I had no idea that the FAA, if you had any kind of like issues like, oh, I'm depressed, like that takes away your like ability to fly.
Well, they have very specific avenues that pilots can take. It's not like if you're a pilot, you can't be sad. That's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So they have FAA approved avenues, curriculums. I don't know really the wording, but ways to get around the like prescriptions and the oh, you have this disorder and that disorder. Like that would really mess up my whole flying avenue. So I didn't want to go and seek out someone like that. I knew I needed to talk to someone, but I knew I was situationally depressed, like I said, because of that trauma from the breakup. It was terrible, and it was a chain of traumatic breakups for me, and so that's ultimately what led me to Dana. Um, Julia connected us, and it was pretty much an easy choice for me because we hit it off very well the first meeting. We clicked, and she was able to be that voice of reason for me through like probably the darkest time that I've gone through in my life. So, yeah, if it wasn't for my stepmom, because Dana had helped my stepmom through some things as well,
Mm,
and she spoke very highly of her. So, if it wasn't for her, then Dana and I might not have ever connected.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you feel comfortable telling us a little bit more about the breakup, just like the highlight reel of the breakup and the darkest time that brought you to Dana?
Sure, yeah. So my ex and I had been neighbors in our careers. So I worked at a salon that was in a strip mall in a very small town, and he worked at well, he owned a barber shop rather, that was in that same strip mall, just a different little area. There was a driveway in between, whatever. So we would see each other in passing because I would walk across the driveway to go get lunch. And sometimes we would collaborate. He would do a really cool like barber design in someone's hair, and then I would color it and like, we would kind of indirectly work together. We never actually spoken, but we knew of each other, followed each other on Instagram. Um, and then he had been married. He had two kids with his wife. They fell apart, got divorced, and since the town was small, everyone knew about it. And so I had always had this weird childlike crush on this guy. I didn't know anything about him. I was just like, no, he's super hot. I love him. Like, ridiculous. And I went for it. And we actually ended up matching on like Tinder or something weird like that. And I laughed because I was like, I know this guy. So I messaged him on Instagram and I screenshotted his Tinder. And I was like, you didn't want to match with me because he didn't match me. I matched him. And that's what started that whole 3 year relationship. It was great for a couple months, and then I kind of got the feeling that he likes to party a lot, like drinking. His ex-wife had had issues with him with drugs in the past. For some reason, I turned a blind eye. I was like, no, that's in his past. He's a good dad. He's a business owner. He's good. So slowly but surely, I don't want to bore you with the details, but it deteriorated over the course of the 3 years. 2 years in, he ended up proposing. He proposed to me with this 5 carat lab diamond, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Looking back, it's like, oh my God, you know? And he planned out this whole trip to Puerto Rico and he proposed, and it was beautiful. The night before he proposed, which looking back again, why did I say yes? Why, you know what I mean? Like when you see it out of your situation that you were in, it's so clear, like, what the hell was I thinking? He got super drunk the night before, as he would, and started yelling at me and screaming. And so I was angry that he was super drunk on this vacation. It was supposed to be a nice trip, whatever. He's wasted. I was angry. And so I didn't want to talk to him. And so since I didn't want to talk to him, he got more angry, more angry, more angry, to a point where now he's cursing me out. He's speaking in loops that don't make sense because he's intoxicated. He ends up storming out of our Airbnb. I don't know where he went. He came back a couple hours later, went to bed. The next day, we drive to this beautiful location where he proposes. Very strange. And I said yes. I
Wow.
was like, oh, forget all the crazy fights where he drinks too much and doesn't care how he treats me at all.
And this all happened in Puerto Rico, the
Yes.
fight and the proposal. Got
Yes.
it.
On the
Mm,
same trip.
mm.
And then literally as soon as that proposal happened, everything went to shit. We got home, a couple of his employees had left, so his business took a huge hit. So he started drinking more. He started drinking during the day. Like I would come to work because I brought my business, my clients into his barber shop. I left where I was at, went to work for him. Okay. He didn't necessarily charge me for the chair. I paid for what I used. So I bought my own products, supplied my own tools, brought my own clients, etc. So I made it so that it would even out. So I could just work there, make my money, pay him for the space essentially. That worked out fine until the drinking started. So I'd come into work, I'd come down for lunch, he'd be blacked out, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, okay, this guy needs help. So I reached out to his mom, I reached out to his sisters, I tried to enlist all the help I could, brought him to a therapist. And this is all before I started flying, by the way. I started flying as this was all deteriorating because I needed something to be an outlet for me because I had at this point brought my career into his life. I was the stepmom to his two kids, literally took them in as my own, didn't even complain one time, loved them, still would do anything for them to this day. But I stepped into the role that his ex-wife stepped out of, and I didn't even think about myself. And when he started drinking, I was like, wow, I really don't have anything outside of him. So then I started flying. I started flying and I loved it. That made him even more angry at me. Started drinking more. Started taking testosterone because he was depressed. Went online and got prescribed some low dose testosterone from this online doctor and told me about it. Told me not to tell his mom because she wouldn't like that he was doing that because she knows that he gets crazy. And so I said, okay, if your behavior starts to change, I'm gonna let you know. And he's like, absolutely, please let me know. And at this point, he was already like enraged all the time, just functioning alcoholic, lying through his teeth, gaslighting, the whole thing. And of course, he starts taking this testosterone, he starts getting violent. This is when I know I'm like no longer safe and I have to step out. I already had a wedding dress. I had a down payment on a venue. I sent out my save the dates. Okay. I'm holding on for dear life at this point. The deterioration all started in about October, November. This is February, March at this point. So come April, the relationship is incredibly toxic. It's falling apart. I know there's really no hope. I cancel the wedding. I get the money back. I give my dress to my dad. I'm like, please sell this. I can't look at it. And I basically start planning my exit. But before I can actually do that and find another place for my clients and whatever, he comes into work drunk, asks me to fold these towels. I'm like busy doing clients. I'm like, okay. Like he asked me 3 times to fold these towels. And the fourth time he asked me, I said, I'm not going to fold the towels right now because I'm busy. It's not only my responsibility to fold these towels. In 3 years I've been working here, you haven't asked me to fold these towels once. I've just done it. So please, when I'm done, I will fold the towels. That's the only, like, I spoke up for myself. That set him off. Get the fuck out of here. Get your shit and get the fuck out. Fuck you. Cursing. There's people getting their hair cut. There's a mom with her 2 sons in the salon. Like, the employees are there working. And this is just, he's just literally over me, pointing. And he wasn't a tall man. This man was 5'4", okay? So I'm sitting, he's standing over me. I stand up. I start getting my things. You want me to leave? Cool. He starts throwing all my stuff into bags, throws it all in my trunk. I guess my keys get mixed up in there because then I can't find them. I'm like, I can't leave if I don't have my keys. He's like, I don't care, figure it the fuck out. Slamming shit. It was wild. I finally find the keys. I get in the car. He chases me out, punches my car window. I drive away. Block him, obviously. Call my dad, crying, and go home. I get home and I realize I don't have any of my tools. He stole my scissors, my blow dryer, my clippers, my clipper guards. Anything that I would need to make money, even if I wanted to, he took it. So 3 days go by, I let everything just settle. I unblock him. I politely ask for my tools back. He says, okay, I'll bring them to you. I said, fine. At this point, I had a Ring door cam, so I was hoping he would just leave the tools outside. Of course, he didn't. He knocked on the door. He's like, I need to get some of my stuff. Like, I have stuff here that I need to get. I was like, fine. I let him in. He starts pacing my house, screaming at me, getting his things, but very slowly. And he paces each room over and over and over while he's screaming at me, belittling me, demeaning me. Um, he got mad at me because I didn't answer a text. He got mad at me because I posted an Instagram story before responding to him, all of these ridiculous things. So he's pacing my house. He starts stealing some of my things, like my vacuum. He stole a couple of things like out of my bathroom. Whatever. Take it if that's what you want, fucking take it. I don't care. We were the same shoe size too, so he stole some of my shoes. Anyway, he eventually leaves, and I think that's the last of it. The last of his things, plus the engagement ring and a check for half of the money for our wedding venue, I drove to his mom's house because I'm not gonna fight him on it. Like, whatever he wants to just make this go away, like, just take it, right? Um, and then I start trying to heal myself and figure out what I'm gonna do for a career because I not only lost my engagement, my fiance, I lost my 2 stepkids that I loved so much, my career. my life basically. I spent every waking moment with this person until they started being shady. Like my ex got very shady when all the drinking started and everything. I think he was definitely talking to other people. Um, Definitely had people on the side waiting because a couple of weeks later, um, I'm at this pool that I basically I lived in like a resort community, so I had a condo and there was a hotel right across the street, and at that hotel was a big pool. So I would go there and he would go there and we would hang out. I would hope that he had stopped like coming there after all this happened, but of course not. So I go to the pool, I'm taking a nap, I wake up and he's like sitting behind me. And I didn't know he was there. He didn't say anything. He just sat behind me. And this is after all that crazy stuff happened with the job. So I get up and I'm like frozen with fear and I just try to sneak past because he looks like he's sleeping. Of course he wasn't sleeping. He was waiting for me to get up and walk home. Followed me home. I realized he was following me, so I beelined it into the hotel and I like hid in one of the corridors for like 5 minutes. It was crazy. I was literally crouched behind like a fake plant, hiding from this man. So then I think the coast is clear and I go out the door and I see him coming at me. I was like, he was waiting for me. So I turn real sharp and I run literally through the freaking bushes, run home, lock the door, and 5 minutes later, he texts me. He's like, "You're hilarious." He's knocking on the door. I was like, "What do you want?" He's like, "I want the rest of my shit." I'm like, "I drove it to your mom's." He had like, I don't know, like a toothbrush, some shit, like dumb shit he did not need to come back for at all, right? He just needed an excuse. I let him in. He gets his stuff. He starts stealing my stuff again. This time he's in my fridge stealing my groceries. He's like, "Why would I leave you with all this food?" Da 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 da. There were things that he stole
Oh
that
my
I didn't
goodness.
realize until months after this happened, too. So as soon as his physical body, he screamed and paced the house again for like 45 minutes. And then as soon as his physical body was out of my house, I shut the door, locked it. He body slammed it from the outside and it cracked my whole door frame in half. He ripped my door cam off the wall, thinking that I wouldn't have the videos on my phone, and finally left because I said I'm calling the cops.
Hmm.
I watched him leave. I watched him pull away. I was like, okay, call the cops. I called my dad. My dad was overseas with Julia in Europe for like the whole summer, basically. Like they were there for like 3 or 4 weeks. And usually my dad is my safe person, and he couldn't.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was absolutely panicked. I think I had a panic attack. Like I had never had one before that, but I'm pretty sure I had one that night. And
Hmm.
a couple of days after all of that, because my dad had words with my ex and basically told him to get help, that we're done, that he needs to fix the door. He didn't fix the door, of course. My dad ended up fixing it. Because I told him, I was like, I don't want him fixing it. I don't want anyone he knows fixing it. I want nothing to
Yeah.
do with it. I don't want him coming back. So my dad ended up getting the supplies, fixing it, and then taking that money off of the venue money that I gave back.
Yeah.
I think it was like 300 something dollars in damage that he caused. But after that, a couple days later, I went back to that pool. It was the 4th of July. I went back to the pool, didn't go back since that whole stalking event because I was so traumatized. I finally worked up the courage to like go to have one little like cocktail and enjoy my 4th of July alone. I was by myself, studying for my private pilot test. So I brought my book, I brought my little cocktail, and I go to the pool, and it's super crowded, and I'm so anxious the whole time. And I look up, and who the fuck is across the pool with
Hmm.
his new Miss Thang with
Yeah.
her bikini? She looked like a Temu version of me. I was like, oh, girl. I was like, should I warn her?
You move.
Should I
Love it.
tell her to run, or should I let her figure it out? You know? So after that, I went home, had another panic attack. That was awesome. And then I decided that I would file a TRO so that he doesn't have the ability to come back into my residential area because it's not like the pool, like it's a public pool, but also I live there. Like he had no connection there. He lived in Sparta, which is like 40 minutes away. So I went to court and I compiled all my evidence and I had to go to court 4 times because every time it was adjourned.
Hmm.
And the fourth time, she tried to adjourn it again. And I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm not doing this again. I'm not waking up at 6 a.m. to get ready for this court hearing. I'm not gonna sit here for another 6 hours to be told to go home again. I'm not gonna go and sit in the same room with this guy again. I'm done. And so she's like, "Do you want to dismiss the charges?" And I was like, "I don't." But the justice system continues to fail me, and I have no choice. I need to get on with my life. At that point, I had a new job that I had called out 3 times already in 1 month for these court hearings that kept getting adjourned. I couldn't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So I verbally dismissed the charges, but I told the court that if I see him again anywhere near me, I'm coming back and I'm not going to dismiss it again. So this is his one chance to leave me the fuck alone, you know? So then the judge looked at him and said, "You heard that, right? You better stay away." He was like, "Okay, absolutely." I saw him again at the pool. Yeah. But since
So,
then, I moved, so it's not an issue anymore. The
so where does Dana come into the story?
So the night that I saw him with Miss Thang, I went home, had that second panic attack, called my dad and Julia sent me Dana's information that night. And the next
Okay.
day we connected, and that was how we started our sessions. I was
Wow.
in probably the worst place I'd ever been. I couldn't even go to work. I was so mentally debilitated.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the next day me and Dana connected.
So when it comes to the mentorship program, how did you go through it? Tell me about like stuff that,
Like key things that I took away from the
yeah.
mentorship.
I would
Yeah.
say that, yeah.
There's one major one that comes to mind, and this is very common sense for most people, but for me, Dana, I was talking to her about, I had these intrusive thoughts one morning about how I would be a terrible pilot and how I should quit and how I'm gonna die in a plane crash one day because I'm not capable of doing it. And I told her all that, and she's like, "Do you believe any of that for real?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. Why did I think it?" And she's like, "You don't have to hold space for everything that you think." And I was like, "What?" Like I didn't know that. I didn't know that all of my thoughts weren't valid, like not valid, but like truthful to some extent. Like I always kind of thought maybe there was some truth to what I was thinking because why else would I think it, you know? It's a fear-based thought, obviously, and I don't need to hold space. I can observe it and be like, "Oh, that's a thing." But that's not my thing. That's not my reality. And
Mhm.
then it's just gone. You know, I could just send it off and that's it.
Yeah.
For some reason, I didn't know that I
Hmm.
could do that. I thought that I had to hold space for everything that I thought and that came to mind, and that there was somewhere some deep truth to it subconsciously.
Mm. Uh-huh.
You know, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Like that was the turning point for me. And Dana would probably remember that day too, because that was the day that I didn't cry every 20 minutes.
Ah.
And then the day after that, I didn't cry every 20 minutes. And then the day after, I was that was the turning point for me being able to swing back up.
Hmm. So would you say that you made the decision to not listen to negative thoughts and were like, oh, okay, maybe I am not all of the things that are in my head, all the negative
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Right. Do
And I
you think
started
that,
trusting myself again too. Like if I thought something that was clearly not the reality, I don't have to like that's not me, you know? Like it's not
hmm
all me. They're not all me.
hmm do you
It's
think
very
that your ex would feed those negative thoughts?
I think that him and my other exes that were also very toxic and narcissistic fed off of my inability to trust myself.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And my because I always kind of knew who I was never trying to be anything else, so I've been the same person at my core, but I did mold myself to fit into others' lives so that they wouldn't leave. It all stems down to mostly an abandonment, like please don't leave me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, she helped me work through a lot of that. And it was super painful, but really interesting because now I can almost look at it like I'm looking through a photo album. Like, yeah, all of that shit happened and it made me feel like this. But then I worked through that. And now I
Yeah.
can think of like other people that might feel that, or if I have a child that feels that one day, I can be that safe space, you know, because I know exactly what they're going through.
Yeah.
My mom never told me that you don't have to listen to everything that you think. You don't have to trust other people over yourself. I think I was kind of set up to be more of a submissive human.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. That's not who I am.
Not anymore.
Not who I choose to be at this point in my life.
Yeah. Right. How about the modules? Did any of the anything in the modules come out, like thinking back to going through it? Anything that really was a turning point for you, or anything that really sticks out as like, oh wow, that sits.
Yeah, it was early on in the modules actually. The ideal day module, which was it was either like the second one or the third maybe. It was
Mm.
early on in the course. I was unable, unable to write anything about an ideal day. The first couple of weeks, she'd come, do our sessions. Hey, how's the modules going? And I was, I can't think of an ideal day. I can't even picture what that looks like. I don't even know. All right, no problem. Come back to it, sit on it, write a rough draft. I was like, hmm. So I wrote a rough draft. And it's pretty wild to look at that rough draft versus like what every day is now, which is ideal. I never would have been able to make the connection if I didn't
Hmm.
write that rough draft and then a second rough draft and then a third. And now here I am in the ideal, and it's nothing like what I originally thought it would be like. That
Hmm.
was a huge turning point because it was forced before because I couldn't even see it because I was so deep.
Uh,
But then as more got uncovered and I did more of the work, it became a little bit easier to write, you know?
hmm. It sounds to me like you're saying that like you knew who you were, but how you lived in this world, you weren't sure how to do that because you were doing it for everybody else.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I had
Yeah.
it for a little while. Like there was a point in time where I was thriving by myself. I got out of yet another toxic relationship and stayed single, but I didn't have a therapist. I wasn't flying. I wasn't doing much. I was skydiving a lot, actually. I tend to gear towards these more adrenaline heavy activities if I'm by myself.
Hmm.
Usually like a partner keeps me a little bit more grounded, but I was like skydiving, I was like surfing a lot. I was just a super free spirit, and that is where I felt like, okay, this is me. I'm good. Like I'm good. And then I met my ex.
Yeah.
He slowly dismantled all of that without me even realizing.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because he started
Yeah.
off doing those things with me. He was like into it. We would go paddleboarding all the time, hiking, and then slowly but surely we stopped doing that. Then we
Yeah.
almost never did it. Then all of a sudden he hated being outside. I was like, huh, yeah. So he could
Wow.
be everything that I was at the time because I was good. And then it was like a bait and switch, like, oh wait, actually, this is who I am. And I'm gonna suck all the life out of you until you can't even look at yourself in the mirror anymore. And that's when Dana met me.
Yeah.
hmm
Oof. There's a tendency to want to just be like, just fix me, just tell me what I'm supposed to do. How do you think that Dana helped fix you or guide you to yourself as opposed to who everybody else wants you to be? Because sometimes I feel like, in my own experience, church, religions, they'll have like rules that you have to live by. And I had to like get away from those rules and I had to just like figure out my own rules. This is what I'm saying. What are the rules that you put for yourself that you figured out that were no longer your boyfriends, your mothers, your fathers, any of the things? What are the rules that you put towards for yourself that make you happy now?
hmm Yeah. I think if I don't want to do something, I just don't do it.
That's good.
The people pleasing era, she helped me end that era.
Oh,
Um,
good. Yeah,
the
yeah.
era of like recognizing good and bad friends, like friends that genuinely don't give a crap about me, like that was very evident in this whole like kind of collapsing of what I thought my life was going to look like. Because I had a best friend at the time too, who was going to be my man of honor at my wedding. But he was never a good friend to me. He would always ditch me for the bigger, better deal. We would make plans and he'd blow them off. Like it was always something with him. And I still put him in that place of honor. And I'm so glad that none of that happened because to have somebody standing there next to me on one of the most important days of my life, it would mean nothing now because he didn't give me not one phone call, didn't offer me not 1 inch of support, nothing. And I had friends flooding in from places that we haven't talked for months, years even, and they were driving up to be there for me in court. But my own best friend was gone. And so I had a hard time letting go of him and other friends that I kind of clung to from that era of people pleasing. And I feel great. Like I was kind of scared to lose them, but Dana was like, "Listen, when you eliminate people like that from your life, you make space for the people that really matter, the people that are really going to be there for the long haul."
Mhm.
Since losing, not losing, but letting go of those other relationships, I have gained friends that I'm like, "Oh my God, like we talk every day." And it's amazing. Like a couple of them are from work, a couple of them we've just reconnected over time because I don't know, maybe they just didn't like my ex or they saw what was happening and felt bad, didn't want to say anything. So that was huge. Um, Putting myself first and not feeling bad about it, that was huge. Not used to that. Sticking to things that I love, like flying, hobbies that I truly, at my core, feel my best doing. Don't let them go. Don't stop doing them. Do them alone if you want. Take yourself out on dates. I remember I went to a restaurant by myself for the first time and I was like texting her. I was like, I'm here at the restaurant alone. Like I'm having a cocktail.
Oh
It's
my
nice.
God.
I felt like she kind of taught me how to just be good by myself, like be my own safe space, because that was something I always relied on other people to be. And then when they left, I was like this lost person, like this puppy that like had no owner.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it really was actually. The whole process was pretty amazing.
Wow. You know what my next question is, and I think people listening will ask too, is like now that you have found yourself, how do you put up boundaries? Like I'm sure that you want to be in a relationship again someday or whatever. How do you put up boundaries and realize like, okay, I'm not going to repeat what I did before when I have another person in my life? Like I'm going to, because I mean, personally, I know we have for some reason attracted to these guys that are this way. Like, what do you feel like the next time around you'll be able to say, oh, that's a red flag, that's a red flag, things like that because of the program? Or have you dated? Are you dating? All that.
Yeah, so pretty wild. Dana actually helped me navigate that about 4 or 5 months in. How long has it been? Maybe it was sooner than that. I think it was 3 months into the program. I was like, I might want to put myself out there and just meet people to do fun things with. No pressure. I don't want a relationship. I don't really care. If it evolves into that, awesome. If not, no big deal. Casual. So she's like, when you're ready, you'll know. So one day I just felt ready. I was like, I texted my longest girlfriend. I'm like, let's go to the bar and make Hinge profiles just for like the fun of it. Let's just do it together. We can be silly about it. We can get espresso martinis and it'll be fun. And
Mm-hmm.
she had gotten out of a breakup too, so we kind of just came together and we were like, let's just like do this and see what happens for the plot. So we did, and we both ended up meeting a couple of guys that were like, all right, I never met up with any of them. She's very bold with her dating life. Like she'll double book, like she she's in it to win it. I am very much, and Dana helped me through this, cautious to a point where if there's even an inkling of a red flag in the messages, nope, bye. So I had no hope of meeting anybody on this app. Again, it was a casual thing, so I didn't really care. I would check the messages and laugh mostly. But one day I opened it up and I saw a message from somebody super cute. They had sent me a rose, and I guess on Hinge you have to pay to send a rose. It was like a thing. So I was like, "Ooh, okay. He really wants to talk to me." So I went on his profile, and I was expecting him to be from like Long Island or like New York City because that's pretty much the only people I was matching with. So I go and it says Vernon, and that's where I live. And I was like, Vernon, that's crazy. And I'm reading more, and he's got his own company. He's 39. He's got no kids, divorced, but that's not a big deal for me. And he's super handsome. And so I look at his picture, and the floor behind him looks just like the gym that I go to at the hotel that I was telling you about earlier. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh my God, that's my gym. And he messages me before I even got a chance to say anything. He's like, oh my gosh, Vernon, I live in Great Gorge. I was like, me too. Turns out we were like a 3-minute walk from one another.
Wow.
So we ended up meeting up the next day. He brought me an iced coffee. We talked for like 2 hours. Um, and he was so ridiculously nice. So I go to Dana and I'm like, Dana, I don't know about this. I'm used to criminals. I'm used to like the worst of the
Alcoholics.
worst.
Yeah.
Alcoholics, addicts, criminals, just horrible people. That's who I usually let in. And she's like, yeah,
Mm.
well, you're not letting that in anymore, are you? This is like a good one. This sounds like a good one. And we took it slow and I kept her updated and slowly but surely, she actually met him a couple of weeks ago at my stepbrother Philip's comedy show. Um,
Mm.
we started dating. His name's Robbie. We started dating a couple of weeks after I, went on a couple of dates and then we started dating. And then it became really clear that everything that I thought my ex was, it was like I was trying to fantasize about it. Like, "Oh, he'll be a nice man one day. He'll be a good husband one day. He'll be a good father one day." Absolutely not. Compared to this man, he's an absolute prince, has never raised his voice. I couldn't even picture him angry. Extremely generous, hard worker. We actually bought our dream house a couple of weeks ago. We moved in a month ago.
What?
So that's
What?
where I'm in our home office right now. We're out together.
What? Oh my
So
gosh, happy ending.
it's been a crazy 6 months.
What?
And the last session Dana and I had, we were just we got a little bit emotional because I had this vision board that I made when I turned 30. I was with my toxic ex. And
Hmm.
in the present day, 5 year and 10-year slot, in my 10-year slot, I literally have a picture of what my living room is now.
Wow.
I have, there's so many weird synchronicities and similarities that you could never predict in a million years how it would have ended up. But here I am.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just such a wild moment to
Wow.
go back 6 months and see where I'm at now. It's like, thank you. Like, I went through all the emotions, the despair, the rage, I want revenge, kind of thing. And then it was like, okay, nothing. I feel nothing. And now I feel nothing but gratitude for my ex. Like, thank you for
Hmm.
leading me to this.
Wow.
What a profound 360. You know what I mean? Or
Yes.
what is it, 180? Maybe I mean 180.
Yeah, 180. 180 is a turnaround. 360 is all the way around back to where you started.
Yeah, no,
You don't want
180.
that.
180.
You want a 180. I think. I'm no mathematician. I don't know.
No, I know, girl. But if you would have told me 6 months ago on our first session when Dana and I first met that this is where I'd be at the end of it, I would have been like, okay,
Hmm.
leave you.
Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. That's so cool. How about your mom and your father who swooped in and helped you? How is he doing? Like, how are your relationship with your mom and dad or your stepmom and your dad? And that, like, has that changed? Because, like, it sounds like he was your go-to guy, and now you're like, I'm good, I got this. Like, has that changed at all?
Yeah, I think because I've said that before, I'm good, I got this, and then it all implodes. My dad is still um cautious, happy but cautious. He's making sure that everything's good. He just checked in with me last night. How are you guys? Are you okay? How's the house? Um, and I'm happy to tell him in 100% honesty that everything's great. Like he has nothing to worry about, but I think he's gonna have to see it himself over time? And same
Yeah.
with Julia, because they did see me at my absolute lowest, pretty much rock bottom.
Hmm.
So for me to jump into something quickly is a little bit scary for them. But
Yeah.
for me, it was the right choice.
It's amazing.
Are you seeing an apparition?
No, I'm looking up at the date on the wall because I have all of the active clients of Dana's on the wall looking at the origin. And you signed up 7/9/24. That's what. I wrote it down, but I mean, I've never actually met you. So like that's so insane that it's just that quick. Like, wow, what, like you
Yeah.
said, a 180 in such a short amount of time. But you know what I think the most important thing is that you were willing to be vulnerable and change. Because I think a lot of the times people will come into these programs and be like, fix me, just tell me what to do. And then Dana's like, no, 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 no. You have to tell me what's going on with you, and you have to make the decision to fix yourself or change things or change your perspective on things. And it sounds to me like you were ready. You were just so ready at
So
that
ready.
point. You were like, let's just, what if I just sit in my shit for a minute and deal with it? We're
Hmm.
like, oh my God, so many times for me, I can say so many times I was like, I want to change, but like I don't want to do anything. I want everything to change, but like I also don't want to look at myself right now. And like it sounds like you really were like ready. You had the courage to be ready to look at yourself and be like, yeah, I made some really bad decisions and I don't want to do that ever again. And that's really motivating to me and it's amazing. I've been in her program for 2 years, and I don't know if I could have done what you did in 6 months. Sounds great.
Yeah, I think at that point I was just so done with being a victim to everyone else. I wanted to be my own safe space because if I didn't change, then I was just going to attract the same cycle, right? Like I was going to just attract the same person that saw that void in me that was like, "Oh, I'll fill this void momentarily until I feel like becoming a crazy person."
Yeah.
And then you're stuck, you know? I wasn't gonna
Yeah.
do it again. I did it actually, that was my second go with the toxic relationship. So it didn't sink in the first time. The first lesson
Yeah.
didn't sink in. No, the universe had to literally smack me in the face
Hmm.
in order for me to be ready and willing to do all of the work and figure out why I was like that. Like Dana helped me, like, I don't know if she's done this with you, but the quantum human design. We
Yeah.
put in all of our like birth information and our like personality types and everything were laid out and like weird
Hmm.
traits that were kind of unexplainable before were then making a little bit of sense and you're like, "Oh my God, like that's why I do this or that's why I react this way in this situation. I'm
Yeah.
just that way. I'm just supposed to do that. That's okay. Like I'm good.
Hmm.
Like
One of
that's
the
who I
things
am."
that I figured out from my quantum design is that I work when I'm ready. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Or like if I want to, I have to sleep longer than other people. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, I always thought that I had to get up at 5 in the morning, work out, eat, my greens, like all these things, all these rules. That I was like, wait a second, Mandy, relax. You just are going to do it the way that you want to do it. And then when I realized, oh, okay. And when I'm motivated to do things, I do things. And it's like, I actually get shit done because I don't put the pressure on myself anymore.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
sounds to me like you figured out like your self-worth. Like I think everybody in Dana's program can say like the even thread of everybody is that we all were like, okay, I have to figure out my self-worth for real. For me, I was overweight, I didn't work out, I didn't eat well, I hated myself physically. So that's how I did it to myself. I go, no, 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 I'm not good enough. So like I did all these things. And it sounds like to me, it was like for you, you're like, I'm not good enough. So I'm going to have somebody else tell me I'm good enough.
Yeah, I didn't trust myself enough to be able to
Mm-hmm.
take care of myself alone. So I
Mm-hmm.
would rely on other people to be that. I think it stemmed from my dad, bouncing when I was super young, abandonment. I was just
Mm-hmm.
holding on to people that didn't deserve me at all. And it was because I was terrified of being alone, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then I realized I'm great company. I'm hilarious. I have great taste in food. I go to great restaurants. I could buy myself flowers like Miley Cyrus says.
Yes.
And then when I
Absolutely.
decided that I would only date a man that treats me better than I treat myself, which is Robbie,
Mm-hmm.
I would not date. I would not entertain a man. I would decenter men, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was crazy how many men were attracted to that. And then I
Mm-hmm.
could pick. I was like, nope, red flag, nope, 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 nope. And then I just waited for like the prince to come in, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the winner.
Wow.
You treat me better
That's
than I
so
treat
great.
myself, and that's not easy because I got expensive taste.
Yes. That's amazing. Wow, that's really inspirational. You're an inspiration, Michelle.
Thank you. I
I
hope
am
I
so
am.
excited. I'm so excited for your future.
And for the first time, I can say that. It's wild. Even during the proposal thing, like planning that wedding and everything, it felt so wrong. I was like, I don't know what the future looks like with this person. Like, I can't even imagine it, you know? Why am I doing this? It felt like that the whole time.
Yeah, and when you were telling your story, I really felt like that was the first crack when you decided to stop the wedding, like call off the wedding. That was courage. That was a lot of courage to like break yourself away from the expectations of this is it, this is it, this is it. Oh, wait a minute, maybe it's not. Because like I know that feeling.
Yeah, it was awful. And I had sent the save the dates to my family, like, oh, I was so embarrassed. And I told Dana, like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. She's like, why are you embarrassed? You did the bravest thing that a woman could do.
Yes,
And I was like,
you
really?
did.
Why would anyone stay in this knowing it's gonna implode? Like, why would anyone? And she's like, people do it.
Yeah, people do it. I did. I did it.
Really? What? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh yeah, you did better than me. That's for sure. I really wish I had that clarity. That clarity was definitely like I don't know if you believe in anything spiritual or higher power or whatever, but it definitely sounds like you had somebody whispering in your ear.
Oh, they were screaming. My
Yeah.
ancestors were like, stop.
Yeah.
And then I
Take a
was like, I'm
breather.
gonna love him through the alcoholism. I'm gonna help him. Like, that
Yep.
is not my job.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And to you.
Thank you. I mean, my story is not as exciting as yours at all. Well, maybe it is, but someday I'll have to tell you
Yeah,
my full story. But yeah,
absolutely.
you had that clarity, and it's hard when when you're on a train going towards the cliff. It's hard to jump off. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah. The hardest thing I think was the kids. And then I had dreams about them for like months afterwards. The last time I saw them, I had no idea it was going to be the last time. So probably would have hugged them a little tighter, but they're okay. Their biological mama, their birth mama is pregnant again with her new man. So they're, I'm sure, very excited and they've forgotten about all of it, I hope. The little one had therapy, so I think she's
Yeah.
gonna be right. She's a smart kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anything else you want to mention before we hop off our call?
Just one thing, for everybody, like regardless of where you come from, who you are, if there is something that isn't right in your life and you feel that, don't ignore it because you never know what could be on the other side. Like I never ever would have thought that my life could get this good. I really and I don't even know how good it's gonna get from here, you know? And
Hmm.
I don't know, just listen to that voice because it's never wrong.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing. Anybody who's thinking about joining the mentorship, what do you have to say to them?
Oh, don't think about it. Do it. Invest in yourself. Absolutely invest in yourself. If you are somebody that, likes to treat themselves and do all that, there's no better way to treat yourself than to give yourself the gift of self-awareness, mental clarity. If you're working through something, self-image, I don't know. It just don't think about it anymore. There's no reason to think, just do it. And there's no better, like I've never met somebody like Dana that approaches this whole healing process in the way that she does. It's very, I don't know. For me, it was transformative, for sure.
Same.
100%.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate your time. And I hope to see you again sometime
Absolutely.
out there in the world, in the
Absolutely.
wild.
If there's a women's circle, I'm sure that maybe we can
Yeah, well,
connect.
we're having Valentine's Day, and we're having a retreat in the spring, and we're having all that fun stuff coming up. So maybe I'll see you.
Awesome. Absolutely. Absolutely. That sounds amazing.
Awesome. Awesome, Michelle. I can't wait to see what happens with you. You have a great day and life.
Thank you. You too.